Gil Galad, the High King of the Noldor, emerges in Middle-earth's history like a star glinting on the horizon, steadfast and luminous amidst the growing shadows. But who was this enigmatic elf lord? And how did his life irrevocably shape Middle-earth's fate? To understand Gil Galad, we must look beyond the battlefield to the intricate web of alliances, foresight, and sacrifice he wove during his life. Born Arenion Gil Galad, meaning Star of Radiance, he was thrust into a world already fractured by war. A descendant of Fingon, son of Fingolfin, Gil Galad inherited a legacy of courage tempered by the wisdom of tragic losses during the First Age. Following the War of Wrath, in which Morgoth was overthrown, the world was reshaped, and much of Beleriand sank beneath the sea. Gil Galad, however, would inherit the responsibility of leading the Noldor in their dwindling years. In Lindon, the westernmost realm of Middle-earth, Gil Galad established a kingdom that stood as a bastion of hope and resistance. His leadership preserved the last glory of the High Elves and served as a bulwark against the growing darkness to the east. This realm became the stronghold of the elves' fading influence, a place where their lore, art, and light endured amidst the long shadow of Sauron's rise. Gil Galad's impact on Middle-earth cannot be overstated. Unlike some of his forebears, he saw the necessity of alliances not merely among elves, but also with men and dwarves. His relationships with Númenor were pivotal. Early in his reign, Gil Galad forged deep bonds with Tar Aldarion, the Mariner King of Númenor, laying the foundation for the great friendship between Númenor and the free peoples of Middle-earth. This alliance would prove invaluable in the wars to come. Gil Galad also played a critical role in the crafting of the Rings of Power. When Sauron, disguised as Anatar, sought to seduce the elves with his gifts of knowledge, Gil Galad and Elrond harbored deep suspicion. Unlike Celebrimbor, who trusted Sauron's deceit, Gil Galad refused Anatar's overtures. This act of defiance was no small gesture. It was the cornerstone of resistance against Sauron's grand design. Ultimately, Gil Galad entrusted 2 of the 3 elven rings, Vilya and Narya, to Elrond and Círdan, ensuring they remained out of Sauron's grasp. It was Gil Galad's foresight and leadership that forged the greatest coalition Middle-earth had seen since the War of Wrath, the last alliance of elves and men. In the year 3430 of the Second Age, with Sauron's dominion spreading like a noxious tide, Gil Galad and Elendil united their peoples in a desperate bid to overthrow the Dark Lord. The alliance culminated in the Siege of Barad-dûr, which lasted 7 grueling years. Gil Galad and Elendil stood side by side in the final confrontation with Sauron. Both perished in that battle, but their sacrifice ensured the defeat of Sauron and the temporary end of his reign. The One Ring, however, was not destroyed, a choice that would haunt Middle-earth for millennia. The implications of Gil Galad's sacrifice resonate deeply. His death marked the end of the Noldorin kingship in Middle-earth and the passing of the High Elves into history. Yet his legacy endured through those who took up his mantle, most notably Elrond, who would carry the wisdom and resilience of Lindon into the Third Age. Gil Galad's life and reign embody the duality of elven existence in Middle-earth, the yearning for peace against the relentless pull of war and loss. He is both a beacon of what was best in elvenkind, wisdom, courage, and compassion, and a symbol of their fading light. Tolkien's world is rife with echoes of Gil Galad's legacy. From the haven of Rivendell to the remnants of Lindon, where Círdan the shipwright kept vigil over the western seas. Perhaps the most poignant tribute to Gil Galad is the lament sung by Samwise Gamgee in The Lord of the Rings. Though its lines are brief, they encapsulate the tragedy and majesty of a king who stood against darkness, even at the cost of his life. Gil Galad was an elven king. Of him the harpers sadly sing, the last whose realm was fair and free, between the mountains and the sea. This lament is not just a tale of past glories. but a testament to the enduring struggle against tyranny, a struggle that echoes in every corner of Tolkien's legendarium. When examining Gil Galad's decisions, we uncover layers of insight that speak to his foresight and profound understanding of the times in which he lived. His choice to foster an alliance with Numenor was more than strategic, it was an act of preservation. By nurturing a relationship with the faithful Númenóreans, Gil Galad created a counterweight to Sauron's growing influence among the corrupted men of the East and South. This alliance was not born without difficulty. Many Númenóreans, particularly later in the Second Age, fell to pride and discontent, spurning the elves and their wisdom. Yet through Gil Galad's counsel, the faithful lineage of Númenor endured, embodied by Elendil and his descendants. Gil Galad's trust in Celebrimbor, the master smith of Eragon, is another revealing facet of his character. Though wary of Anatar, Gil Galad did not interfere with Celebrimbor's pursuit of knowledge until it was too late. This restraint speaks to the complexities of leadership, balancing oversight with the autonomy of those under his rule. Gil Galad tells us that, after taking a view of the horizon, Celebrimbor's betrayal by Sauron would later reinforce Gil Galad's resolve to directly oppose the Dark Lord, a shift in approach that became crucial in the formation of the Last Alliance. One cannot discuss Gil Galad's reign without mentioning his decision to entrust the three elven rings. These rings, untainted by Sauron's direct influence, were not merely tools of power, they were vessels of preservation. By giving Vilya the Ring of Air to Elrond and Narya, the Ring of Fire to Círdan, Gil Galad ensured their safekeeping in hands he deemed wise and enduring. These choices, rooted in trust and long-term vision, preserved the strength of the elves through the Third Age. Gil Galad's life serves as a reflection of Middle-earth's broader history, encapsulating the transition from the triumphs of the First Age to the waning influence of the elves. His realm, Lindon, was a microcosm of this shift. Situated on the western shores of Middle-earth, Lindon represented a gateway to the Undying Lands, where many elves sought solace from the encroaching darkness. Yet, under Gil Galad, Lindon also stood as a sentinel realm, the first line of defense against Sauron's ambitions. Interestingly, Lindon's geographical position mirrors its symbolic role. It bordered the Blue Mountains to the east, marking the boundary between the remnants of Beleriand and the still vital lands of Middle-earth. This positioning placed Gil Galad at the center of the tension between the old world and the new, a leader tasked with navigating the decline of his people while safeguarding their enduring legacy. Gil Galad's ultimate sacrifice, dying alongside Elendil in the siege of Barad-dûr, further cements his role as a bridge between eras. His death heralded the close of the Second Age and the beginning of a new chapter dominated by men. Yet, in this transition, Gil Galad's influence persisted. The alliances he forged and the resistance he embodied carried forward through the remnants of the Last Alliance and the wisdom imparted to future generations. To fully appreciate Gil Galad's significance, we must explore how Tolkien interwove his story with the broader legendarium. Gil Galad's ancestry, for example, ties him to the greatest tragedies and triumphs of the Noldor. As a descendant of Fingon, who rescued Maedhros from Thangorodrim, Gil Galad inherits the valor and resilience of his forebears. This lineage also connects him to the Silmarils, the jewels that ignited the First Age's wars, underscoring the cyclical nature of strife in Tolkien's mythology. The echoes of Gil Galad's life ripple into the Lord of the Rings, not just through his lament, but also through the enduring symbols of his reign. The shards of Narsil, reforged into Anduril, carry the legacy of the Last Alliance. Elrond's wisdom, honed under Gil Galad's leadership, becomes a guiding force in the War of the Ring. Even Frodo's journey to Rivendell is marked by the enduring influence of Gil Galad's foresight, as Rivendell itself stands as a bastion of resistance, originally fortified during his reign. Gil Galad's story also provides a lens through which to examine the broader themes of Tolkien's work: the inevitability of decline, the resilience of hope, and the enduring value of unity in the face of overwhelming darkness. These themes, embodied in Gil Galad's life, resonate across the ages of Middle-earth, reminding us that even as light fades, it leaves behind a legacy to guide those who remain. One of the most poignant aspects of Gil Galad's story is the inherent tragedy of his role as High King. Unlike many of his predecessors, Gil Galad did not rule in an age of hope, but in an era defined by loss and the looming shadow of Sauron. His decisions were not merely those of a ruler, but of a caretaker for a waning people. He had to balance the immediate needs of his realm with the long-term survival of the elves in Middle-earth, even as the sands of their influence slipped away. This burden is evident in his strategic choices during the Second Age. Gil Galad's focus on alliances both with Númenor and later with the Dúnedain demonstrates his recognition of the elves' diminishing numbers and the rising power of men. This shift in perspective, embracing the strengths of another race, set Gil Galad apart from many of his contemporaries, who often viewed men as short-lived and unreliable. In this, he foreshadows the broader transition of power that defines Middle-earth's history. Yet Gil Galad's story is not without its personal cost. His isolation as a ruler, tasked with holding the line against Sauron while others sought refuge in Valinor, speaks to the loneliness of his position. Unlike Galadriel, who established Lothlorien, or Elrond, who built Rivendell, Gil Galad bore the brunt of the war directly. This decision to lead from the front ultimately led to his death, a sacrifice that secured a fleeting but pivotal victory over Sauron. Whilst the last alliance of elves and men is often celebrated as a moment of unity, but its deeper implications are far more complex. For Gil Galad, the alliance represented not just a military necessity, but a philosophical culmination of his reign. By joining forces with Elendil, he acknowledged the strength and wisdom of men, elevating their role in the struggle against evil to that of true equals. This unity, however, came at a cost. The Siege of Barad-dûr, lasting from 3,434 to 3,441 of the Second Age, was a grueling affair. Gil Galad's forces suffered immense losses, and the toll on both elves and men was catastrophic. The sacrifice required to achieve victory against Sauron left a fractured world in its wake. The elves, diminished and weary, retreated further from the affairs of Middle-earth. The men of Númenor, scattered across Gondor and Arnor, began the long and arduous task of rebuilding. Even the victory itself was incomplete. The refusal of Isildur to destroy the One Ring marked the beginning of the Third Age and the eventual resurgence of Sauron. For Gil Galad, this act underscores the limits of even the greatest alliances. No matter how united the Free Peoples stood, the ultimate fate of Middle-earth depended on the choices of individuals, a theme that resonates throughout Tolkien's work. As the Third Age unfolded, the echoes of Gil Galad's reign continued to shape Middle-earth. His stewardship of the Three Rings ensured the survival of elven havens like Rivendell and Lothlorien, both of which became critical to the resistance against Sauron during the War of the Ring. The wisdom he imparted to Elrond influenced the formation of the Fellowship, while his alliances with men laid the groundwork for the eventual rise of Aragorn as King of Gondor and Arnor. In many ways, Gil Galad's story is a testament to the power of foresight and sacrifice. He ruled not for the glory of his own age, but for the hope of those who would come after. This selflessness, so characteristic of Tolkien's greatest heroes, ensures that his name endures as more than a lament in song. Perhaps the most profound aspect of Gil Galad's legacy is the lesson he offers to Middle-earth and its readers, that even in the face of inevitable decline, the choices of one individual, imbued with courage, wisdom, and faith, can alter the course of history. Gil Galad may have perished in battle, but the world he left behind bore the indelible mark of his influence. As Tolkien wrote, history became legend, legend became myth, Yet Gil Galad's star continues to shine, a symbol of resistance against the dark and a reminder of the light that lingers, even in the deepest shadows.